Theories of Death. An examination of all theories throughout history about death and the afterlife. Written by Vahid Zekavati. Copyright 2024 NLP Radio Inc. Introduction. Introduction to the topic of death and the afterlife. The phenomenon of death and the concept of the afterlife have captivated human curiosity for millennia. Throughout history, various cultures and civilizations have grappled with the nature of mortality and the possibility of existence beyond death. These existential questions have inspired countless philosophical, religious, and scientific inquiries, each seeking to uncover the mysteries that lie beyond the final breath. The question of what happens after we die is one of the most profound and elusive inquiries faced by humanity. It touches upon the very essence of our existence and the ultimate fate of our consciousness. Various traditions and belief systems have attempted to provide answers to this question, each offering a unique perspective on the nature of death and the afterlife. In exploring this topic, it is essential to recognize the diversity of beliefs and theories that have emerged across different cultures and epochs. This exploration is not merely an academic exercise, but a journey into the heart of human experience and understanding. By examining these diverse viewpoints, we gain insight into how different cultures and philosophies perceive the end of life and what, if anything, might lie beyond it. The importance and fascination of this topic in human history. The fascination with death and the afterlife is deeply ingrained in human history and culture. It reflects a universal concern with the meaning of life and the possibility of an existence beyond our current reality. This concern has driven the development of various religious doctrines, philosophical theories, and scientific investigations. Religions have often provided structured frameworks for understanding the afterlife, offering both comfort and guidance to their adherents. Philosophical inquiries have sought to unravel the nature of consciousness and its potential persistence beyond physical death. Scientific investigations, meanwhile, have explored phenomena such as near-death experiences and the potential implications of quantum theories. The significance of this topic is evident in its ability to inspire both personal reflection and collective exploration. It prompts individuals to confront their own beliefs about mortality and the afterlife while also encouraging broader cultural and intellectual discussions. As such, the study of death and the afterlife serves as a bridge between the realms of the known and the unknown, the material and the spiritual. An overview of various theories and beliefs. In our examination of death and the afterlife, we encounter a rich tapestry of theories and beliefs, each offering its own interpretation of what happens when life ends. These can be broadly categorized into religious, philosophical, scientific, and cultural perspectives. Religious beliefs provide detailed narratives about the afterlife, often including concepts such as heaven, hell, reincarnation, and spiritual realms. For example, in Islam, the afterlife is characterized by the concepts of paradise and hell, with a focus on moral accountability. Christianity also presents a vision of heaven and hell, with an emphasis on resurrection and final judgment. Hinduism and Buddhism offer views on reincarnation and the cycle of birth and rebirth, highlighting the concepts of karma and enlightenment. Philosophical theories offer various interpretations of consciousness and its potential continuity after death. Materialist perspectives often view death as the end of consciousness, while dualist theories propose a separation between mind and body, suggesting the possibility of continued existence. Scientific investigations explore phenomena such as near-death experiences and quantum theories, which offer intriguing but still inconclusive insights into the nature of consciousness and the possibility of an afterlife. Cultural beliefs reflect the diverse ways in which different societies understand and ritualize death. These beliefs often include practices related to ancestor worship, spiritual communication, and ceremonial rites that reflect the values and traditions of the community. By delving into these various perspectives, we gain a deeper understanding of how humanity has grappled with the mysteries of death and the afterlife. This exploration not only enriches our knowledge, but also invites us to reflect on our own beliefs and attitudes towards the end of life. Chapter 1. Islam. Introduction to Islam. Islam, one of the major world religions, originated in the 7th century CE in the Arabian Peninsula. Founded by the Prophet Muhammad, who Muslims believe is the final prophet in a line of prophets including Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, Islam has grown to become one of the largest religions globally, with over 1 billion followers. The core teachings of Islam are encapsulated in the Quran, considered by Muslims to be the literal word of God as revealed to Muhammad. Islamic teachings address all aspects of life, including moral behavior, social justice, and the afterlife. Central to Islamic belief is the concept of the afterlife, which is intricately linked to the faith's understanding of life, death, and the final judgment. This chapter explores Islamic views on the afterlife, including concepts of the Barzakh, the Day of Judgment, Paradise, Jannah, and Hellfire, Jahannam. The afterlife, Barzakh, Day of Judgment, Paradise, and Hell. 1. Barzakh, the intermediate state. In Islamic eschatology, Barzakh is the intermediate state between death and the day of resurrection. It is a realm where souls reside after death and await the final judgment. The experience in Barzakh is believed to reflect the individual's earthly deeds. Those who lived righteously experience peace and tranquility, while those who lived in sin face suffering. The concept of Barzakh emphasizes the importance of one's actions in this life, as they directly influence the experiences in this intermediate state. 2. The Day of Judgment. The Day of Judgment, known as Yawm al-Qiyamah, is a fundamental concept in Islam. It is the day when all beings will be resurrected and held accountable for their deeds. According to Islamic belief, on this day, every individual will be judged by God, Allah, based on their actions and intentions. The Quran describes the Day of Judgment as a time of great upheaval, where the heavens and the earth will be transformed, and all souls will be assembled for divine judgment. 3. Paradise, Jannah. Paradise, or Jannah, is the ultimate reward for the righteous and faithful. It is described in the Quran as a place of eternal bliss and happiness, where believers will experience peace, joy, and fulfillment. Jannah is depicted with lush gardens, flowing rivers, and luxurious amenities, reflecting the ultimate reward for those who lived according to God's commandments. The Quran and Hadith, sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, provide vivid descriptions of Jannah, emphasizing its beauty and the eternal pleasure that awaits its inhabitants. 4. Hellfire, Jahannam. Hellfire, or Jahannam, represents the punishment for those who lived in defiance of God's will and committed grave sins without repentance. Jahannam is portrayed in Islamic texts as a place of intense suffering, torment, and despair. The Quran describes various levels of hell, each corresponding to the severity of the sins committed. Jahannam serves as a deterrent and a reminder of the consequences of living a life contrary to Islamic teachings. Different Islamic perspectives on death. Islamic perspectives on death vary somewhat across different schools of thought and interpretations. However, the core beliefs regarding the afterlife remain consistent. These variations often arise from different interpretations of Islamic texts and cultural practices. Some Muslims may emphasize particular aspects of the afterlife more than others, depending on their theological and cultural backgrounds.
1. Sunni perspective.
Sunni Islam, the largest sect within Islam, generally adheres to the belief in a detailed afterlife scenario as described above. Sunni teachings emphasize the importance of faith, good deeds, and adherence to the 5 pillars of Islam. Sunni scholars have developed extensive jurisprudence and theology regarding the afterlife, contributing to a rich tradition of eschatological thought. 2. Shia perspectives. Shia Islam also shares core beliefs in the afterlife, but with some differences in emphasis and interpretation. Shia Muslims may focus more on the role of the imams, who are considered spiritual leaders and guides. Shia eschatology includes specific beliefs about the Mahdi, the awaited savior, and his role in the final judgment. 3. Sufi perspectives. Sufism, or Islamic mysticism, adds another layer of interpretation to Islamic beliefs about the afterlife. Sufis emphasize the inner spiritual journey and the importance of divine love and union with God. Their perspective on the afterlife often includes a focus on the spiritual purification and the soul's journey towards God. In conclusion, Islamic beliefs about death and the afterlife offer a comprehensive and detailed vision of what awaits individuals after they leave this world. The concepts of Barzakh, the Day of Judgment, paradise, and hellfire provide a framework for understanding the moral and spiritual dimensions of life and death in Islam. These beliefs are integral to Islamic theology and play a crucial role in shaping the ethical and spiritual lives of Muslims. Chapter 2. Christianity. Introduction to Christianity. Christianity, one of the major world religions, originated in the 1st century CE in the region of Palestine, centered around the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God and the awaited Messiah prophesied in the Old Testament. The teachings of Christianity are primarily derived from the New Testament of the Bible, which includes the Gospels, Acts, Epistles, and Revelation. Christianity has grown to become one of the largest religions globally, with diverse denominations and traditions. Despite the variations among Christian denominations, core beliefs about the afterlife are shared, though they may be interpreted differently. This chapter explores Christian views on the afterlife, focusing on concepts such as heaven, hell, the resurrection, and final judgment. Heaven and hell. 1. Heaven. Heaven is considered the ultimate destination for those who have lived according to God's will and have accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior. In Christian theology, heaven is described as a place of eternal joy, peace, and communion with God. The New Testament provides several descriptions of heaven, often characterized by its beauty, purity, and the absence of suffering and sin. Jesus spoke of heaven in various parables and teachings, emphasizing its role as the reward for the faithful. In the book of Revelation, heaven is depicted as a magnificent city, the New Jerusalem, with streets of gold and gates of pearls. The notion of heaven is central to Christian eschatology, offering believers hope and motivation to live a righteous life in anticipation of eternal life with God. 2. Hell. Hell, in Christian theology, represents the punishment for those who have rejected God and lived in sin. It is often described as a place of eternal torment and separation from God. The New Testament provides vivid imagery of hell, including descriptions of fire, darkness, and anguish. Jesus frequently spoke of hell, using metaphors such as the outer darkness and the lake of fire to convey the severity of its suffering. Hell serves as a warning and a moral deterrent, emphasizing the importance of repentance and faithfulness. It is depicted as a place of separation from God's love and grace, where individuals experience the consequences of their choices. Resurrection and final judgment. 1. Resurrection. The resurrection is a central tenet of Christian belief, referring to the event when Jesus Christ rose from the dead on the 3rd day after his crucifixion. This event is celebrated annually on Easter Sunday and is considered the cornerstone of Christian faith. The resurrection signifies victory over death and the promise of eternal life for believers. Christian eschatology teaches that there will be a general resurrection of the dead at the end of time. This resurrection will involve the reawakening of all who have died, followed by a divine judgment. The belief in the resurrection provides hope for Christians, affirming the possibility of life after death and the ultimate restoration of God's creation. 2. Final judgment. The final judgment, also known as the Last Judgment, is the event when God will judge all individuals based on their deeds and faith. According to Christian doctrine, this judgment will occur at the end of time, following the second coming of Christ. The book of Revelation describes this event, portraying a scene where the dead are judged according to their works. The final judgment will determine the eternal destiny of each person, with the righteous being rewarded with eternal life in heaven and the wicked facing eternal separation from God in hell. This belief underscores the importance of living a life of faith, repentance, and moral integrity. Different Christian perspectives on death. Christian perspectives on death and the afterlife vary among different denominations and traditions, but the core beliefs remain consistent. These perspectives offer diverse interpretations of the afterlife, reflecting the theological and doctrinal differences within Christianity. 1. Roman Catholic perspectives. Roman Catholicism emphasizes the concepts of heaven, hell, and purgatory. Purgatory is viewed as a temporary state where souls undergo purification before entering heaven. The Catholic Church also holds that salvation can be attained through faith, good works, and participation in the sacraments. 2. Protestant perspectives. Protestant denominations generally affirm the beliefs in heaven and hell but may differ in their views on the intermediate state. Most Protestants reject the concept of purgatory, focusing instead on the immediate presence of God or separation from Him after death. The emphasis is often on personal faith in Jesus Christ as the means to eternal salvation. 3. Eastern Orthodox perspectives. Eastern Orthodox Christianity shares many beliefs with Roman Catholicism but has distinct views on the afterlife. The Orthodox tradition emphasizes the transformative nature of the afterlife and the possibility of spiritual growth even after death. The concept of theosis, or becoming one with God's divine nature, is central to Orthodox eschatology. In summary, Christian beliefs about death and the afterlife offer a comprehensive view of the ultimate destiny of human souls. The concepts of heaven, hell, the resurrection, and final judgment provide a framework for understanding Christian eschatology and guide the moral and spiritual life of believers. These beliefs are integral to the Christian faith and offer hope and assurance of eternal life through a relationship with Jesus Christ. Chapter 3. Judaism. Introduction to Judaism. Judaism, one of the oldest monotheistic religions, traces its origins to the ancient Near East, with its roots deeply embedded in the traditions and teachings of the Hebrew Bible. Judaism centers around the covenant between God, Yahweh, and the Jewish people, as revealed through various prophets and recorded in sacred texts. The primary religious texts of Judaism include the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, as well as the Tanakh, which encompasses the entire Hebrew Bible, including the prophets, Nevi'im, and the writings, Ketuvim. Judaism encompasses a wide range of beliefs and practices, but core tenets include the belief in one God, the importance of following God's commandments, and the significance of Jewish law, halakha. This chapter explores Jewish perspectives on the afterlife, focusing on concepts such as Sheol, Olam Haba, the world to come, and the resurrection of the dead. Sheol, Olam Haba, and resurrection. 1. Sheol. In ancient Jewish thought, Sheol is described as the place where the dead reside. It is often portrayed as a shadowy, neutral realm where both the righteous and the wicked go after death. Sheol is not considered a place of punishment or reward, but rather a place of waiting. Over time, the concept of Sheol evolved, and later Jewish texts began to distinguish between the fates of the righteous and the wicked. Sheol is mentioned in various parts of the Hebrew Bible, where it is depicted as a dark, silent place beneath the earth. It is not until later Jewish literature, including the Talmud and Midrash, that more elaborate views of the afterlife develop. 2. Olam Haba, the world to come. Olam Haba, meaning the world to come, refers to the future state of existence that follows the resurrection of the dead. It is a central concept in Jewish eschatology, representing a time of reward and fulfillment for those who have lived righteous lives. The nature of Olam Haba is not explicitly detailed in the Hebrew Bible, but is further developed in rabbinic literature. Olam Haba is often associated with the Messianic era, a future time when the Messiah will come to bring peace and justice to the world. This concept encompasses both a spiritual and a physical dimension, where the righteous will experience a close relationship with God and the fulfillment of divine promises. 3. Resurrection of the dead. The resurrection of the dead, or Tekiyat HaMetim, is a key belief in Jewish eschatology. This concept holds that at the end of days, God will resurrect the dead and bring them back to life. The resurrection is associated with the coming of the Messiah and the establishment of a just and righteous world. The belief in resurrection is supported by various passages in the Hebrew Bible, particularly in the book of Daniel and the writings of the prophets. Rabbinic literature, including the Talmud, expands on this idea, describing the resurrection as a time when the righteous will be rewarded and the wicked will be judged. Different Jewish perspectives on death. Jewish views on death and the afterlife vary among different denominations and traditions within Judaism. These perspectives reflect diverse interpretations of Jewish texts and teachings. 1. Orthodox Jewish perspectives. Orthodox Judaism adheres to traditional beliefs about the afterlife, including the concepts of Sheol, Olam Haba, and resurrection. Orthodox Jews believe in a physical resurrection of the dead and a future messianic age. The focus is on living according to the commandments of the Torah and preparing for the world to come. 2. Conservative Jewish perspectives. Conservative Judaism holds a range of views on the afterlife, with some maintaining traditional beliefs while others adopt more modern interpretations. The concept of Olam Haba is generally accepted, but beliefs about the nature of resurrection and the afterlife may vary among conservative Jews. The emphasis is often on ethical living and communal responsibility. 3. Reform Jewish perspectives. Reform Judaism tends to be more diverse in its beliefs about the afterlife, with many Reform Jews focusing on the ethical and moral teachings of Judaism rather than specific doctrines about resurrection or Olam Haba. Some Reform Jews may view the afterlife metaphorically or symbolically, emphasizing the importance of living a meaningful life in the present rather than focusing on future rewards. In conclusion, Jewish beliefs about death and the afterlife offer a multifaceted view of the ultimate destiny of human souls. The concepts of Sheol, Olam Haba, and the resurrection provide a framework for understanding Jewish eschatology and guide the ethical and spiritual life of Jewish adherents. These beliefs reflect the richness of Jewish tradition and its evolving perspectives on the afterlife. Chapter 4. Hinduism. Introduction to Hinduism. Hinduism, one of the oldest and most diverse religions in the world, has its origins in the Indian subcontinent. It is a complex and pluralistic faith with a rich tapestry of beliefs, practices, and philosophical schools. Unlike many religions, Hinduism does not have a single founder or a unified doctrine but encompasses a wide range of traditions and texts. Central to Hinduism are the concepts of dharma, duty/ethics, karma, action and its consequences, and moksha, liberation. The sacred texts of Hinduism include the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the epics such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. These texts provide a comprehensive understanding of life, death, and the afterlife. This chapter explores Hindu perspectives on the afterlife, focusing on concepts such as samsara, the cycle of rebirth, karma, and moksha. Samsara, karma, and moksha. 1. Samsara, the cycle of rebirth. Samsara refers to the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that all beings undergo. According to Hindu belief, the soul, Atman, is eternal and undergoes a series of reincarnations based on its actions in previous lives. This cycle is driven by the law of karma, where good or bad deeds influence one's future existences. The cycle of samsara is characterized by continuous suffering and illusion, maya. Each reincarnation is an opportunity for the soul to learn, grow, and progress towards liberation. The ultimate goal is to escape this cycle and attain moksha, thereby ending the cycle of rebirth and achieving a state of eternal peace and unity with the divine. Tooth karma, action and its consequences. Karma is a fundamental concept in Hinduism that governs the law of cause and effect. It refers to the actions and intentions of individuals and their subsequent consequences in this life and future lives. According to Hindu belief, every action, whether good or bad, generates karma that affects one's future reincarnations. Positive actions and righteous living contribute to favorable karma, which leads to a better rebirth or progress towards moksha. Conversely, negative actions and immoral behavior generate unfavorable karma, which can result in more challenging reincarnations. The concept of karma emphasizes personal responsibility and the ethical implications of one's actions. 3. Moksha, liberation. Moksha represents the ultimate goal of Hindu spiritual practice, liberation from the cycle of samsara. It is the state of eternal bliss, freedom, and unity with the divine. Achieving moksha means transcending the material world and the limitations of individual existence. Different paths to moksha are outlined in Hindu philosophy, including the path of knowledge, jnana yoga, the path of devotion, bhakti yoga, and the path of selfless action, karma yoga. Each path provides a way to overcome ignorance, attachment, and ego, ultimately leading to liberation. Moksha is often described as the realization of one's true nature and the experience of oneness with the supreme reality, Brahman. Different Hindu perspectives on death. Hindu perspectives on death and the afterlife vary among different sects and philosophical schools, reflecting the diversity within Hinduism. These perspectives offer a range of interpretations regarding the nature of life after death and the process of spiritual evolution. 1. Vedantic perspectives. Vedantic Hinduism, based on the teachings of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, emphasizes the importance of understanding the nature of the self, Atman, and its relationship to the ultimate reality, Brahman. According to Vedantic thought, death is not the end but a transition in the ongoing journey of the soul. The focus is on attaining self-realization and liberation through spiritual knowledge and meditation. 2. Bhakti perspectives. In the Bhakti tradition, which emphasizes devotion to a personal deity, the afterlife is often viewed through the lens of divine grace. Devotees believe that sincere devotion and surrender to a deity can lead to liberation and entry into the divine realm. The Bhakti path provides a way to transcend the cycle of rebirth through divine love and devotion. 3. Yoga perspectives. The yoga tradition, including schools such as Raja Yoga and Hatha Yoga, views death as a process of spiritual transformation. The practice of yoga aims to prepare the soul for a smooth transition and progress towards liberation. Yoga emphasizes self-discipline, meditation, and control of the mind to achieve spiritual growth and ultimately escape the cycle of rebirth. In conclusion, Hindu beliefs about death and the afterlife provide a rich and diverse framework for understanding the journey of the soul. The concepts of samsara, karma, and moksha offer a comprehensive view of the cycle of rebirth and the path to spiritual liberation. These beliefs reflect the complexity and depth of Hindu philosophy and guide the ethical and spiritual practices of its adherents. Chapter 5. Buddhism. Introduction to Buddhism. Buddhism, founded by Siddhartha Gautama in the 5th century BCE, is a major world religion that originated in ancient India. Siddhartha, known as the Buddha, sought to understand and overcome the suffering inherent in human existence. His teachings, which form the basis of Buddhism, are centered around the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These teachings address the nature of suffering, its causes, and the path to its cessation. Buddhism encompasses a variety of traditions and schools, including Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Despite differences among these traditions, they share core beliefs about the nature of life, death, and the afterlife. This chapter explores Buddhist perspectives on the afterlife, focusing on concepts such as samsara, the cycle of rebirth, nirvana, enlightenment, and karma. Samsara, nirvana, and karma. 1. Samsara, the cycle of rebirth. In Buddhist belief, samsara refers to the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This cycle is driven by ignorance, desire, and attachment, which bind individuals to the cycle of suffering and rebirth. Samsara is characterized by dukkha, or suffering, which arises from the impermanence and dissatisfaction of worldly existence. Buddhism teaches that the cycle of samsara continues until one achieves enlightenment. The concept of samsara highlights the transient nature of life and the importance of overcoming attachments and desires to attain liberation. 2. Nirvana, enlightenment. Nirvana is the ultimate goal in Buddhism, representing the cessation of suffering and the end of the cycle of rebirth. It is a state of perfect peace, freedom from craving, and realization of the true nature of existence. Achieving nirvana means transcending the cycle of samsara and attaining liberation from all forms of suffering. Nirvana is not described as a specific place, but rather a state of being that is realized through spiritual practice and insight. The path to nirvana involves following the Eightfold Path, which includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. 3. Karma, action and its consequences. Karma, a fundamental concept in Buddhism, refers to the law of cause and effect. It denotes the actions, intentions, and their consequences that influence one's future experiences. Karma is believed to shape future rebirths and experiences based on the moral quality of one's actions. Positive actions and intentions generate good karma, leading to favorable conditions in future lives. Conversely, negative actions and intentions create bad karma, resulting in suffering and difficulties. The concept of karma underscores the importance of ethical behavior and mental cultivation in shaping one's destiny. Different Buddhist perspectives on death. Buddhist views on death and the afterlife vary among different traditions and schools, reflecting the diversity within Buddhism. These perspectives offer different interpretations of the process of dying, rebirth, and the attainment of enlightenment. 1. Theravada perspectives. Theravada Buddhism, also known as the teaching of the elders, is one of the oldest forms of Buddhism. It emphasizes the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path as the way to achieve nirvana. In Theravada Buddhism, death is seen as a transition in the cycle of samsara, and the quality of one's rebirth is determined by the accumulated karma. The focus is on personal effort and meditation to achieve enlightenment and escape the cycle of rebirth. 2. Mahayana perspectives. Mahayana Buddhism, or the Great Vehicle, encompasses a variety of traditions, including Zen, Pure Land, and Tibetan Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes the ideal of the Bodhisattva, an enlightened being who remains in the cycle of samsara to help others achieve enlightenment. In Mahayana thought, the process of dying and rebirth is viewed as an opportunity for spiritual progress, and the aim is to assist others on their path to nirvana. 3. Vajrayana perspectives. Vajrayana Buddhism, also known as Tibetan Buddhism, incorporates elements of Mahayana Buddhism and esoteric practices. Vajrayana emphasizes the use of ritual, meditation, and visualization to achieve enlightenment. In Vajrayana, the process of death and rebirth is considered a critical moment for spiritual practice, with the potential for liberation through the use of specific techniques and teachings. In conclusion, Buddhist beliefs about death and the afterlife provide a nuanced understanding of the cycle of rebirth and the path to enlightenment. The concepts of samsara, nirvana, and karma offer a framework for comprehending the nature of existence and the ultimate goal of liberation. These beliefs guide Buddhist practice and provide a path for overcoming suffering and achieving spiritual realization. Chapter 6: Materialist Systems. Death as the end of identity and consciousness. Materialism, or physicalism, is a philosophical standpoint asserting that everything that exists is either made of matter or is dependent on matter for its existence. According to materialism, consciousness and identity are phenomena that arise from physical processes in the brain and cannot exist independently of the physical body. This chapter explores the materialist perspective on death, focusing on the view that death signifies the end of individual identity and consciousness. Philosophical views of materialist thinkers. 1. The end of consciousness. Materialists argue that consciousness is a product of the brain's complex biochemical and electrical activities. From this viewpoint, once the brain ceases to function, consciousness also ceases to exist. The materialist perspective holds that there is no separate, non-physical entity or soul that continues after death. Consequently, the materialist view posits that death represents the total cessation of personal consciousness. Materialist philosophers such as Daniel Dennett and Thomas Metzinger have contributed to this perspective by suggesting that consciousness can be fully explained by understanding neural processes. They argue that subjective experiences, thoughts, and personal identity are all results of specific brain functions. Therefore, when the brain stops working, these experiences and the sense of self are extinguished. 2. The problem of personal identity. Materialists also address the problem of personal identity, which concerns what makes someone the same person over time despite changes. According to materialist views, personal identity is closely linked to the continuity of the brain and its functions. Since materialism does not support the existence of a non-material soul or self, it implies that personal identity is intrinsically tied to the physical state of the brain. When the brain deteriorates or dies, the continuity of personal identity is disrupted. Materialists argue that without the brain's functions, the concept of a continuous self becomes meaningless. Therefore, death results in the loss of personal identity, as there is no non-physical aspect of the self that persists beyond physical existence. 3. Implications for the afterlife. Philosophers such as David Hume and Karl Marx have critiqued religious and spiritual concepts of the afterlife, arguing that they lack empirical evidence and contradict materialist principles. They suggest that belief in an afterlife is a result of psychological or cultural conditioning rather than rational or scientific justification. Criticisms and alternative views. 1. Criticisms of materialist views. Materialist views on death and consciousness have faced criticism from various quarters. Some argue that materialism fails to account for subjective experiences and the qualitative aspects of consciousness. Critics claim that reducing consciousness to purely physical processes may overlook important dimensions of human experience. Philosophers such as John Searle and Thomas Nagel have challenged materialist perspectives by highlighting the limitations of explaining consciousness solely through neural activity. They suggest that materialist theories might not fully capture the richness and complexity of conscious experience. 2. Alternative perspectives. Alternative perspectives to materialism, such as dualism and panpsychism, propose that consciousness may not be entirely reducible to physical processes. Dualism, for example, posits that the mind and body are distinct entities, with consciousness potentially surviving physical death. Panpsychism suggests that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe and may not be solely dependent on physical structures. These alternative viewpoints provide different interpretations of consciousness and the afterlife, challenging the materialist perspective. They offer a broader range of possibilities for understanding the nature of existence and the potential for life beyond death. Conclusion. The materialist perspective on death emphasizes that individual consciousness and personal identity end with physical death, as they are products of the brain's functions. Materialism rejects the notion of an afterlife or any form of continued existence beyond physical death. While materialist views offer a rigorous and scientifically grounded explanation, they have also faced criticism and alternative theories that seek to address aspects of consciousness not fully explained by materialism. In summary, the materialist view provides a clear framework for understanding death as the cessation of consciousness and personal identity. However, ongoing debates and alternative perspectives continue to explore the complexities of consciousness and the possibility of life after death. Chapter 7. Dualist Systems. Duality of Body and Soul. Dualism is a philosophical perspective that posits the existence of two fundamentally different kinds of substances, the physical and the non-physical. This viewpoint suggests that the mind and body are distinct entities, each with its own properties and functions. Dualism has been a significant framework in discussions of consciousness, personal identity, and the afterlife. This chapter explores dualist theories regarding the afterlife, focusing on the notion of the soul's continued existence separate from the physical body. Dualist theories on the afterlife. 1. Cartesian dualism. René Descartes, a prominent proponent of dualism, introduced the concept of Cartesian dualism, which distinguishes between the mind, or soul, and the body. According to Descartes, the mind is a non-material substance that is distinct from the physical body. This dualistic view asserts that the mind possesses consciousness and self-awareness, while the body operates according to physical laws. In Cartesian dualism, the afterlife is understood as the continued existence of the mind or soul beyond the physical death of the body. Descartes argued that the mind, being immaterial, is not subject to physical decay and thus could persist after bodily death. This perspective supports the idea of an afterlife where the soul continues to exist independently of the physical realm. 2. Interactionism in the afterlife. Interactionism, a form of dualism, suggests that the mind and body interact with each other but remain distinct entities. This view maintains that mental states can influence physical states and vice versa. Interactionism implies that the soul and body are connected during life, but the soul's existence is independent of the body after death. Proponents of interactionism argue that the afterlife involves the continuation of the soul's existence in a non-physical realm. According to this view, the soul retains personal identity and consciousness beyond physical death, continuing its journey in a realm that is separate from the material world. 3. Non-interactionist dualism. Non-interactionist forms of dualism, such as parallelism, propose that the mind and body operate in parallel but do not interact directly. This view suggests that mental and physical events are coordinated without causal interaction. In this framework, the afterlife is conceptualized as the continuation of the mind's existence in a separate dimension, with no direct influence from the physical body. Non-interactionist dualists believe that the soul persists after death, residing in a non-material domain. This perspective supports the idea of an afterlife where the soul maintains its individuality and consciousness, independent of physical processes. Theological and philosophical implications. 1. Theological implications. Dualist theories of the afterlife often intersect with religious and theological beliefs about the soul and its destiny. Many religious traditions that incorporate dualist views, such as Christianity, Islam, and certain forms of Hinduism propose that the soul's continued existence is central to their eschatological teachings. For instance, in Christianity, the belief in the immortality of the soul and the promise of eternal life are foundational concepts. Dualist theories support the notion that the soul's journey continues in an afterlife, either in heaven or hell, based on moral and spiritual choices made during earthly life. 2. Philosophical implications. Philosophically, dualism raises questions about the nature of consciousness, personal identity, and the relationship between the mind and body. Dualist theories challenge materialist perspectives that view consciousness as purely a product of physical processes. The existence of an afterlife in dualist thought suggests that personal identity and consciousness are not solely dependent on the physical body. This challenges materialist views and opens discussions about the possibility of life after death and the nature of existence beyond physical constraints. Criticisms and alternative views. 1. Criticisms of dualism. Dualism has faced significant criticism, particularly regarding the interaction between the mind and body. Critics argue that dualism struggles to explain how two fundamentally different substances, mental and physical, can interact. The problem of interaction poses challenges for dualist theories, as it requires an account of how non-physical mental states can influence physical processes and vice versa. Philosophers such as Gilbert Ryle and Daniel Dennett have critiqued dualism for its perceived inconsistencies and lack of empirical support. They argue that dualist theories may not adequately address the complexities of consciousness and its relationship to the physical brain. 2. Alternative perspectives. Alternative perspectives, such as physicalism and emergentism, offer different explanations for consciousness and the afterlife. Physicalism asserts that consciousness is entirely a product of physical processes in the brain, while emergentism suggests that consciousness emerges from complex interactions within physical systems. These perspectives challenge dualist views by proposing that consciousness and personal identity are not separate from physical processes. They offer alternative frameworks for understanding the nature of existence and the potential for life after death. Conclusion. Dualist perspectives on the afterlife provide a framework for understanding the continued existence of the soul beyond physical death. Theories such as Cartesian dualism and interactionism suggest that the mind or soul persists in a non-material realm, independent of the physical body. While dualism offers insights into the nature of consciousness and personal identity, it also faces criticism and alternative theories that explore different aspects of existence and the afterlife. In summary, dualist views provide a perspective on the afterlife that supports the idea of a continued existence of the soul beyond death. These theories contribute to ongoing discussions about the nature of consciousness and the possibilities for life after physical death. Chapter 8. Near-Death Experiences, NDEs. Definition and explanation of NDEs. Near-death experiences, NDEs, refer to profound psychological events occurring to individuals who are close to death or have been clinically declared dead but later revived. These experiences often include a range of phenomena, such as out-of-body experiences, moving through a tunnel, encountering deceased relatives, and feelings of peace or detachment from the body. NDEs have been reported across different cultures and religions, suggesting a universal aspect to these experiences. The study of NDEs aims to understand their nature, causes, and implications for our understanding of consciousness and the afterlife. This chapter delves into the definition of NDEs, their common features, and the ongoing debate about their interpretation. Common features and reports of NDEs. 1. Out-of-body experiences, OBs. One of the most reported phenomena in NDEs is the sensation of floating outside the physical body and observing events from a detached perspective. Individuals often describe seeing their own bodies from a distance, sometimes in the hospital or accident scene where they were initially situated. This sensation of detachment can be accompanied by a sense of floating or moving through a space that is not bound by physical limitations. OBs raise questions about the nature of consciousness and whether it can exist independently of the physical body. Some researchers suggest that OBs may result from neurological or psychological processes, while others consider them evidence of a non-physical aspect of consciousness. 2. The tunnel experience. Another common feature of NDEs is the sensation of moving through a tunnel or a passageway toward a light. Individuals often describe this tunnel as dark but illuminated at the end, and they feel a sense of being drawn toward a bright, welcoming light. This experience is frequently associated with feelings of peace, comfort, and detachment from physical pain. The tunnel experience has been interpreted in various ways, including as a metaphorical representation of the transition between life and death, or as a manifestation of neurological processes occurring during moments of extreme stress or near death. 3. Encounters with deceased relatives. Many people who have had NDEs report meeting deceased relatives or spiritual beings during their experience. These encounters are often described as warm, comforting, and meaningful. Individuals may experience a sense of reunion with loved ones who have passed away, or they might receive guidance or messages from these entities. The significance of these encounters is debated, with interpretations ranging from psychological projections to evidence of an afterlife. Some researchers view these experiences as meaningful psychological events, while others consider them as potentially indicative of a continuation of consciousness after death. 4. Feelings of peace and detachment. A prevalent feature of NDEs is the profound sense of peace and detachment from the physical body and earthly concerns. Individuals often describe an overwhelming sense of calm, a lack of fear, and a feeling of liberation from physical pain. This sense of tranquility is frequently accompanied by a heightened awareness and clarity. These feelings are thought to result from the release of endorphins and other neurochemical processes during critical moments, but they also contribute to the debate about the nature of consciousness and its potential existence beyond physical life. Scientific and psychological explanations. 1. Neurobiological explanations. One scientific explanation for NDEs is based on neurobiological processes. Researchers suggest that NDEs might be related to the brain's response to extreme stress or lack of oxygen. Hypoxia, low oxygen levels, and hypercapnia, high carbon dioxide levels, can lead to altered states of consciousness and hallucinations that resemble NDEs. Studies have shown that specific brain areas involved in perception, memory, and self-awareness can be activated or impaired during critical moments, potentially contributing to the experiences reported during NDEs. These neurobiological explanations propose that NDEs are not evidence of an afterlife, but rather physiological responses to life-threatening conditions. 2. Psychological explanations. Psychological theories suggest that NDEs may result from the brain's attempt to make sense of extreme stress or trauma. The brain might generate comforting or meaningful experiences to help individuals cope with the fear and uncertainty of impending death. This view posits that NDEs are a form of psychological defense mechanism rather than evidence of life after death. Additionally, the content of NDEs might be influenced by cultural and personal beliefs. Individuals' expectations and prior experiences can shape the nature of their NDEs, suggesting that these experiences are influenced by psychological and social factors. Interpretations and controversies. 1. Evidence for an afterlife. Some proponents of NDEs argue that the consistency of experiences across different cultures, and the detailed reports of encounters with deceased individuals suggest evidence for an afterlife. They argue that NDEs might provide glimpses into a realm beyond physical existence and support the idea of consciousness surviving after death. 2. Skepticism and criticism. Critics argue that NDEs can be explained through scientific and psychological mechanisms and do not necessarily indicate an afterlife. They caution against interpreting NDEs as proof of the afterlife without robust empirical evidence. Skeptics point out that NDEs are subjective experiences and should be understood within the context of brain function and psychological responses. Conclusion: near-death experiences offer a fascinating glimpse into the subjective experiences reported by individuals near death. Common features of NDEs, such as out-of-body experiences, tunnel sensations, encounters with deceased relatives, and feelings of peace, contribute to ongoing debates about the nature of consciousness and the possibility of an afterlife. While scientific and psychological explanations provide valuable insights, the interpretation of NDEs remains complex and controversial. These experiences continue to inspire both scientific inquiry and philosophical reflection on the mysteries of life and death. Chapter 9. Quantum Theories. Quantum theories and the afterlife. Quantum theories have sparked considerable interest and debate regarding their implications for the nature of consciousness and the possibility of an afterlife. Quantum mechanics, a branch of physics that explores the behavior of particles at the atomic and subatomic levels, introduces concepts that challenge our conventional understanding of reality. This chapter examines how quantum theories might intersect with ideas about life after death, exploring notions of parallel universes, consciousness, and the fundamental nature of existence. Quantum mechanics and consciousness. 1. Quantum superposition and consciousness. Quantum superposition is a fundamental principle of quantum mechanics that suggests particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed or measured. Some theorists have proposed that this principle might extend to consciousness, suggesting that the mind could also exist in a superposition of states. According to this view, consciousness might not be confined to a single state or location, but could potentially exist in multiple states or dimensions. This hypothesis raises intriguing questions about the continuity of consciousness after death. If consciousness is not limited to a single physical state, it might persist or transition into different states or realms beyond physical death. 2. Quantum entanglement and non-local consciousness. Quantum entanglement refers to a phenomenon where particles become interconnected in such a way that the state of one particle instantly affects the state of another, regardless of distance. Some researchers have speculated that quantum entanglement might offer insights into the nature of consciousness and its potential connection to non-local phenomena. In this context, non-local consciousness refers to the idea that consciousness might be connected across different locations or dimensions. If consciousness is entangled in a non-local manner, it might suggest the possibility of continued existence beyond the physical body. This notion aligns with some interpretations of the afterlife that propose a form of consciousness that transcends physical limitations. Quantum theories and the possibility of an afterlife. 1. The multiverse theory. The multiverse theory posits that our universe is just one of many universes that exist simultaneously. According to this theory, there could be an infinite number of parallel universes, each with different versions of reality. Some proponents of this theory suggest that consciousness might exist in multiple universes, potentially continuing in alternate realities after physical death. If consciousness can exist in parallel universes, it might imply that there is no definitive end to personal consciousness. Instead, the self could persist in different forms or realities, providing a novel interpretation of the afterlife. This idea challenges traditional views of death as a final endpoint and opens up possibilities for continued existence in alternative realms. 2. Quantum consciousness theories. Quantum consciousness theories propose that consciousness arises from quantum processes within the brain. According to these theories, the brain's neural activity might involve quantum effects that contribute to conscious experience. If consciousness is fundamentally linked to quantum processes, it could imply that consciousness might survive beyond physical death or transition to different quantum states. One notable theory in this domain is the orchestrated objective reduction, orchestrar, theory, proposed by physicists Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. This theory suggests that consciousness arises from quantum computations in the brain's microtubules. According to orchestrar, consciousness could potentially persist or transition to other quantum states after physical death. Scientific and philosophical implications. 1. The scientific debate. Quantum theories and their implications for consciousness and the afterlife remain highly speculative and controversial. While these theories offer intriguing possibilities, they also face significant scientific challenges. The application of quantum mechanics to consciousness and the afterlife requires rigorous empirical validation, and many scientists remain skeptical of these interpretations. Critics argue that quantum theories might not provide a complete explanation for consciousness, and that the application of quantum principles to the afterlife is speculative. They caution against conflating scientific theories with metaphysical claims and emphasize the need for further research and evidence. 2. Philosophical implications. Quantum theories introduce novel perspectives on the nature of reality and consciousness. They challenge traditional notions of consciousness as purely physical and suggest that consciousness might be connected to fundamental quantum processes or alternate realities. These theories prompt philosophical questions about the nature of existence, the possibility of an afterlife, and the limits of human understanding. Philosophers and theorists must navigate the intersection of quantum mechanics and metaphysical claims carefully. The exploration of quantum theories and their implications for the afterlife invites ongoing philosophical inquiry and debate. Conclusion. Quantum theories offer intriguing possibilities for understanding consciousness and the potential for an afterlife. Concepts such as quantum superposition, entanglement, and the multiverse challenge conventional views of reality and suggest that consciousness might persist or transition beyond physical death. While these theories provide novel insights and possibilities, they also face significant scientific and philosophical challenges. The exploration of quantum theories continues to inspire both scientific research and philosophical reflection on the nature of existence and the afterlife. Chapter 10. Beliefs of Native Americans. Spiritual worlds and connection with ancestors. Native American cultures hold a diverse array of beliefs regarding the spiritual world and the afterlife, which are deeply intertwined with their understanding of nature and ancestral connections. These beliefs reflect a profound respect for the interconnectedness of life, death, and the spiritual realms. This chapter explores the spiritual cosmologies of various Native American tribes, focusing on their views about the afterlife, the role of ancestors, and the rituals and stories that shape their understanding of existence beyond death. The spiritual world and afterlife beliefs. 1. The spirit world. For many Native American tribes, the spirit world is a vital component of their cosmology. This world is seen as a realm that exists parallel to the physical world, inhabited by spirits, deities, and ancestors. The spirit world is often perceived as a place of guidance, protection, and influence on the living. In many traditions, the spirit world is divided into different realms or layers, each associated with specific aspects of life, death, and the natural world. The spirit world is not seen as a distant or abstract place, but as an integral part of the everyday experience and spirituality of the people. 2. Ancestral spirits. Ancestral spirits play a central role in Native American beliefs about the afterlife. Ancestors are revered as wise and influential beings who continue to guide and protect their descendants. The connection between the living and the dead is maintained through rituals, prayers, and ceremonies that honor the ancestors and seek their guidance. In many tribes, ancestral spirits are believed to reside in the spirit world, where they watch over their descendants and intercede on their behalf. This connection fosters a sense of continuity and support, linking generations across time. 3. The journey after death. The journey of the soul after death varies among Native American cultures, but it often involves a transition to the spirit world. In some traditions, the soul must navigate a journey or trial, guided by spiritual helpers or ancestors. This journey represents a passage from the physical realm to the spiritual realm, where the soul is reunited with ancestors and finds its place in the afterlife. The nature of this journey and the experiences of the soul in the afterlife are shaped by cultural beliefs and rituals. The afterlife is often seen as a continuation of the soul's journey rather than an endpoint, reflecting the cyclical nature of life and death. Rituals and stories. 1. Ceremonial practices. Rituals and ceremonies play a crucial role in Native American beliefs about the afterlife. These practices are designed to honor the dead, facilitate their journey to the spirit world, and ensure their continued presence and support for the living. Ceremonies often involve offerings, prayers, songs, and dances that invoke the spirits and create a sacred space for communication with the spirit world. For example, the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, is a significant ritual in many Native American cultures where families create altars, offer food, and celebrate the lives of their deceased loved ones. This ritual emphasizes the ongoing relationship between the living and the dead and reinforces the belief in the continuity of life through ancestral presence. 2. Mythological stories. Mythological stories and oral traditions are essential for understanding Native American views on the afterlife. These stories often feature deities, spirits, and heroes who interact with the spiritual world and provide insights into the nature of existence and the journey after death. One common theme in Native American mythology is the concept of the Great Spirit or Creator who governs the spiritual realms and guides the souls of the departed. These stories provide a framework for understanding the spiritual journey and the relationship between the living and the spiritual world. Cultural variations. 1. Diverse beliefs across tribes. Native American beliefs about the afterlife and the spirit world are diverse and vary widely among different tribes and cultures. Each tribe has its own unique cosmology, rituals, and stories that shape its understanding of existence beyond death. For example, the Lakota Sioux believe in a spiritual realm where the soul finds peace and unity with the Great Spirit. In contrast, the Hopi tribe emphasizes the cyclical nature of life and death, with the soul returning to the spiritual realm to await reincarnation. 2. Influence of European contact. The arrival of Europeans and the subsequent colonization of the Americas had a profound impact on Native American spiritual beliefs and practices. Missionary efforts and cultural assimilation policies led to the suppression and transformation of traditional beliefs. Despite these challenges, many Native American communities have preserved and revitalized their spiritual traditions, incorporating elements of their ancient beliefs with new influences. This resilience reflects the enduring importance of spiritual and ancestral connections in Native American cultures. Conclusion. Native American beliefs about the afterlife and the spirit world reflect a deep reverence for the interconnectedness of life, death, and the spiritual realms. The concept of a spiritual world, the role of ancestral spirits, and the rituals and stories that shape these beliefs offer a rich and diverse perspective on existence beyond death. These beliefs emphasize the continuity of the soul's journey, the importance of ancestral connections, and the ongoing relationship between the living and the spiritual world. Despite historical challenges, Native American spiritual traditions continue to thrive and provide valuable insights into the nature of existence and the afterlife. Chapter 11: Beliefs of African Cultures. Ancestor spirits and their influence on the living. African cultures are renowned for their rich and diverse spiritual traditions, which often emphasize the interconnectedness between the living and the ancestors. The reverence for ancestors and their ongoing influence on the lives of the living is a central theme in many African belief systems. This chapter explores the beliefs of various African cultures regarding the afterlife, ancestor worship, and the rituals and customs associated with these practices. The role of ancestors. 1. Ancestor worship. Ancestor worship is a prominent aspect of many African spiritual traditions. Ancestors are revered as important spiritual beings who continue to play a significant role in the lives of their descendants. They are believed to have a profound influence on the living, providing guidance, protection, and blessings. In many African cultures, ancestors are seen as intermediaries between the human world and the divine. They are honored through rituals, offerings, and ceremonies that acknowledge their continued presence and seek their favor. Ancestor worship reinforces the connection between the past and present, emphasizing the continuity of familial and communal bonds. 2. The living dead connection. In African cosmology, the concept of the living dead reflects the belief that ancestors are not entirely removed from the world of the living. Instead, they are considered to be actively involved in the daily lives of their descendants. This ongoing relationship is maintained through various spiritual practices and rituals. The living dead are thought to influence the world of the living by providing guidance, protection, and intervention in times of need. This belief underscores the idea that the spiritual realm is closely intertwined with the material world, and that ancestors remain an integral part of the community. Rituals and practices. 1. Ritual offerings. Ritual offerings are a common practice in African cultures to honor ancestors and seek their blessings. Offerings may include food, drink, and other items that are presented at ancestral shrines or altars. These offerings are made with the intention of maintaining a positive relationship with the ancestors and ensuring their continued support. Ritual offerings are often accompanied by prayers, chants, and ceremonies that express gratitude and request guidance. The act of making offerings reinforces the bond between the living and the ancestors, reflecting the importance of reciprocity and respect in African spiritual traditions. 2. Ancestral festivals and ceremonies. Ancestral festivals and ceremonies play a crucial role in African spiritual practices. These events are held to celebrate and honor the ancestors, and they often involve communal gatherings, music, dance, and storytelling. Festivals may mark significant occasions such as harvests, initiations, or anniversaries of important ancestral figures. These ceremonies serve as a means of reinforcing cultural identity and preserving traditional values. They also provide an opportunity for the community to come together in reverence and celebration, affirming the ongoing connection with the ancestors. Beliefs about the afterlife. 1. The spirit world. The spirit world in many African cultures is seen as a realm where ancestors reside and where they continue to influence the lives of the living. This world is often depicted as a parallel dimension or a higher plane of existence, where the spirits of the deceased interact with the divine and the living. The spirit world is considered to be a place of continuity and connection, where the souls of ancestors maintain their roles as guardians and guides. This belief underscores the importance of maintaining harmonious relationships with the ancestors and ensuring that their needs are met through ritual practices. 2. Reincarnation. In some African traditions, reincarnation is a key concept in understanding the afterlife. It is believed that the souls of ancestors may return to the earthly realm in new bodies, continuing their spiritual journey and maintaining their presence within the community. Reincarnation is often viewed as a way of preserving the lineage and cultural heritage of a family or tribe. The belief in reincarnation reflects the cyclical nature of life and death, emphasizing the ongoing presence of ancestral spirits in the lives of their descendants. Cultural diversity and variations. 1. Regional differences. African beliefs about the afterlife and ancestor worship vary widely across the continent. Each culture and region has its own unique practices, cosmologies, and rituals that shape its understanding of the spiritual world and the role of ancestors. For example, the Yoruba people of West Africa have a complex pantheon of deities and ancestral spirits, while the Ikan people of Ghana emphasize the role of ancestors in maintaining social and moral order. Similarly, the Zulu people of Southern Africa have their own distinctive beliefs and practices related to the ancestors and the afterlife. 2. Impact of colonialism and modernization. The arrival of European colonizers and the influence of modernization have had significant effects on African spiritual traditions. Colonial policies and missionary efforts led to the suppression of traditional beliefs and practices, and many African communities have faced challenges in preserving their spiritual heritage. Despite these challenges, many African cultures have demonstrated resilience and adaptability, incorporating new influences while maintaining core elements of their spiritual traditions. The revitalization of traditional practices and the integration of modern elements reflect the dynamic nature of African spirituality. Conclusion. African beliefs about the afterlife and ancestor worship reflect a deep reverence for the spiritual realm and the ongoing connection between the living and the deceased. The role of ancestors, the significance of rituals and ceremonies, and the diverse cultural practices highlight the rich and varied nature of African spirituality. These beliefs emphasize the continuity of life and the importance of maintaining harmonious relationships with the ancestors. Despite historical challenges, African spiritual traditions continue to thrive and offer valuable insights into the nature of existence and the afterlife. Conclusion. Summary of theories and beliefs. The exploration of theories and beliefs about life after death reveals a rich tapestry of perspectives, each contributing to our understanding of existence beyond physical life. This journey through religious, philosophical, scientific, and cultural frameworks highlights the diverse ways in which humanity seeks to comprehend the nature of the afterlife. In the realm of religious beliefs, we examine the Islamic, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, and Buddhist views on the afterlife. Each tradition offers unique insights into concepts such as judgment, reincarnation, and the ultimate fate of the soul. These beliefs underscore the profound significance of life after death in shaping moral and existential values within different cultures. Philosophical perspectives, particularly materialist and dualist theories, present contrasting views on the nature of consciousness and its persistence after death. Materialist theories propose that consciousness ceases with physical death, while dualist theories suggest that consciousness may continue independently of the body. These philosophical debates challenge our understanding of the self and its potential survival beyond the physical realm. Scientific and semi-scientific explorations, including near-death experiences, NDEs, and quantum theories, offer intriguing possibilities regarding the afterlife. NDEs provide anecdotal evidence of consciousness persisting beyond clinical death, while quantum theories introduce concepts of parallel universes and quantum consciousness that challenge conventional views of reality and existence. Cultural beliefs from Native American and African traditions reveal the deep connection between the living and the spiritual world. These cultures emphasize the ongoing influence of ancestors and the importance of maintaining spiritual relationships through rituals and ceremonies. Their practices highlight the significance of ancestral guidance and the continuity of life beyond death. Future prospects for research. The study of life after death is a field characterized by ongoing inquiry and exploration. Future research is likely to continue examining the intersection of scientific, philosophical, and spiritual perspectives, seeking to unravel the mysteries of existence beyond physical life. Advances in neuroscience, quantum physics, and cross-cultural studies may provide new insights into the nature of consciousness and the afterlife. Interdisciplinary approaches that integrate scientific, philosophical, and spiritual perspectives could offer a more comprehensive understanding of life after death. Collaborative research efforts, combining empirical evidence with philosophical and spiritual insights, may pave the way for new discoveries and interpretations. Personal reflections. The diverse theories and beliefs explored in this book invite readers to reflect on their own views about life after death. The quest for understanding the nature of existence beyond physical life is a deeply personal and profound journey. As individuals, we grapple with questions of meaning, purpose, and the ultimate fate of our consciousness. This exploration encourages us to contemplate the possibilities of an afterlife, the nature of consciousness, and our relationship with the spiritual world. Whether through religious faith, philosophical inquiry, or scientific investigation, the search for answers about life after death remains a central aspect of the human experience. Invitation to further reflection. As we conclude this exploration of life after death, readers are invited to engage in further reflection and inquiry. The questions raised by the theories and beliefs examined in this book are not only academic but also deeply existential. They challenge us to consider our own beliefs, values, and aspirations regarding the nature of existence and the afterlife. The search for understanding the mysteries of life beyond death is an ongoing journey, one that invites curiosity, openness, and contemplation. Whether through personal reflection, spiritual practice, or scientific exploration, we are encouraged to continue seeking answers and engaging with the profound questions that shape our understanding of existence. Thank you for reading this book to the end. Vahid Zekavadi.